Rain fell in thin, cold sheets, tapping softly against rooftops like the whole neighborhood was whispering secrets. The streets of Willow Creek, the most feared and controlled HOA community in the county, sat perfectly still. Perfect lawns. Perfect fences. Perfect silence. Not a single toy in a yard. Not a misplaced leaf. Not one sign of real life. It was the kind of place where smiles were fake, rules were real, and kindness was rare. And walking through that silent, polished neighborhood was a tired man named Noah Blake, his shoulders slumped, his clothes damp from the storm, a small grocery bag hanging from his hand. His day had been long, heavy, and lonely. He worked construction, lifting walls and bricks all day, yet somehow the weight of the HOA felt heavier than anything he carried at work. Noah wasn't a troublemaker. He wasn't loud. He wasn't social. He just paid his rent, followed the rules, kept his head down, and tried not to get fined for something ridiculous like grass length or curtain color. In Willow Creek, even breathing felt like a rule. He walked past rows of identical houses, each one glowing with the same cold porch lights, each driveway spotless, each garden trimmed with robotic perfection. And yet, even in all that lifeless order, something felt wrong tonight. The air was tense. The silence felt sharp. It was as if the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. Noah wiped rain from his face and kept walking until he heard it. A tiny sound. Faint. Fragile. A soft sob. Crying. He stopped. Looked around. The playground near the HOA clubhouse sat empty. Swings still. Slides dripping with rain. The sandbox filled with puddles. No movement. No lights. Just darkness. But the crying came again. Quieter this time. Like someone didn't want to be heard. Noah stepped closer, his heart tightening. "Hello?" he called softly. No answer. The crying continued. He walked through the gate, shoes splashing in shallow puddles, and then he saw her. A tiny girl, no older than 6, stood beneath the broken slide roof. Rain dripped down her messy hair. Her clothes were dirty, soaked through, her shoes worn and muddy. She held a piece of paper in both small hands, clutching it like it was the most important thing she owned. Her shoulders shook with every quiet sob. Noah froze for a moment, surprised. Kids didn't usually play here. The HOA didn't like noise or disturbances. He took a slow step forward and knelt down to her eye level, keeping his voice soft and gentle. "Hey, are you okay?" The little girl lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were big, sad, tired, far too tired for a child her age. Rain clung to her eyelashes. Her lips trembled. She didn't answer right away. Noah tried again, softer. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. A tiny whisper escaped her, fragile as glass. No, Noah's heart ached. "Are you lost?" She shook her head again. "No," he waited. Then she whispered, voice cracking, "I live here." Her hands squeezed the paper tighter. Noah looked at her soaked dress, her shaking hands, her lonely eyes. Something was very wrong. "Why are you out here alone?" "It's freezing." The girl swallowed hard. Her voice was barely a breath. "I was giving invitations." Noah blinked. "Invitations?" She nodded and held out the paper in her hand. "To my birthday party." The paper was a handmade card. Crayon drawings. Little balloons. A crooked cake. A smiley face that somehow looked sad. And in messy letters, "You are invited." Noah felt his chest tighten. "Oh, happy birthday soon." The girl didn't smile. Her voice cracked. Nobody came. Rain slid down her face, mixing with tears. Noah's stomach twisted. "Did you invite your neighbors?" She nodded slowly. "All of them." She lowered her head, her small voice trembling. "They said they can't come, because Mommy is sick." Noah frowned gently. "Sick? Like a cold?" The girl shook her head. "Mommy doesn't walk much. She stays in bed. She coughs a lot. Sometimes she cries." Her voice shook harder. "But she said she'll smile if someone comes to my party." Noah felt a lump in his throat. He couldn't imagine how many nights this child sat alone, hoping someone would care. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Emily," she whispered. Then she looked up at him with trembling eyes. "Will you come? If you come, Mommy will smile, even if she's hurting." The innocence and hope in her voice hit Noah like a punch. He didn't know this child, didn't know her mother, didn't know her story, but he felt something shift inside him. Something warm, something protective. He opened his mouth to answer, but suddenly, footsteps. Loud, sharp, angry. A group of 3 HOA board members stormed into the playground, rain bouncing off their stiff umbrellas and black jackets. Their expressions were cold, their eyes full of disgust, as if they'd caught a criminal, not a child. The tallest woman stepped forward, her voice sharp like a knife. "Emily, what did we tell you about talking to outsiders?" Emily flinched and backed away. "I am sorry." The woman grabbed her small arm roughly. "You are not allowed to disturb residents." Noah stood up quickly, shock and anger rising. "Hey, she wasn't disturbing anyone. She's just a kid." The woman glared at him with icy eyes. "This is HOA property. You do not engage with restricted families." Restricted families? The words sounded dirty, ugly, wrong. Noah frowned. "She's standing in the rain alone. She needs help." Another board member stepped forward, voice dripping with judgment. "Her mother is a violator. Fines unpaid. Property neglected. Behavior unacceptable. The child is not allowed to interact." Emily whimpered in pain as the woman tightened her grip on her arm. Noah's anger surged. "Let her go." The woman sneered. "Mind your own business, Mr. Blake. You're already on thin ice with your lawn inspection." Noah clenched his jaw. He'd gotten a fine once because a leaf had blown onto his porch. He knew how cruel they could be. Emily tried to speak through tears. "I just wanted someone to come." But the woman yanked her away. "You are done here." Emily dropped the invitation. It fluttered down into a puddle, paper soaking, colors bleeding. Noah stared at it, heart pounding. One board member leaned close to him, voice cold. "Stay away from that house. Stay away from that family. Consider this your warning." They dragged Emily toward a waiting golf cart, her tiny voice crying out, "Mommy will smile if someone comes. Please." Rain swallowed her words as the cart sped away. Noah stood frozen, fists trembling, breath shaking, heart aching. Slowly, he bent down and picked up the soggy invitation from the puddle. The ink had smeared, but one line, written in shaky crayon, was still readable. 3 words. 3 desperate words. "Please save Mommy." Lightning flashed. Thunder cracked. And in that moment, Noah knew. This wasn't just a birthday. This wasn't just a sick mother. This wasn't just an abandoned child. Something darker was happening in Willow Creek. Something cruel. Something hidden. Something the HOA didn't want anyone to see. Noah looked at the empty playground, the rain pounding harder, the invitation shaking in his hand. He whispered to himself, voice low and shaken. What are they doing to her? He didn't have answers, but he had a feeling, deep, painful, undeniable, that the little girl's words weren't innocent. They were a warning, a cry for help, a door opening to a story he never asked for, but couldn't walk away from. Because sometimes life chooses you, and sometimes a small voice in the rain becomes the beginning of everything. Noah turned toward the direction Emily had been taken. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't keep walking home. He stopped. He stared. And he made a silent promise. Whether he knew it or not, his life had just changed forever. Rain still poured from the sky like endless tears as Noah stood alone in the empty playground, clutching the soaked invitation in his hand. His clothes were wet, his hair dripping, but he barely felt the cold. All he could think about was the tiny shaking voice of that little girl. Mommy will smile if you come. And those 3 broken words on the card, please save Mommy. They echoed in his mind like a quiet cry he couldn't unhear. Noah swallowed hard, staring at the direction where the HOA board dragged Emily away. He didn't know her. He didn't know her mother. He didn't know their story. But something inside him refused to ignore it. Something heavy. Something human. He looked down at the crumpled invitation again. On the bottom corner, barely readable through the smeared crayon, was a small address, 16 Willow End. The very edge of the neighborhood. The forgotten side. The side where no one ever walked. Noah hesitated, heart pounding. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't brave. He was just a tired man trying to survive in a place full of rules and fear. But Emily's eyes, wet, desperate, lonely, wouldn't leave his mind. He squeezed the paper gently, took a breath, and whispered to himself, "I just want to make sure she's okay." His feet began moving before his mind could stop him. He walked past the rows of clean houses lit with warm lights and fake smiles. He walked past neighbors peeking through curtains, whispering behind glass. He walked past perfect property signs and spotless lawns. And slowly, everything around him changed. The houses became less perfect. The grass grew uneven. Paint chipped. Windows unclean. The HOA streetlights didn't shine as bright here. The silence was thicker. The air colder. It was like stepping out of a shiny world and into a shadow. At the very end of the road stood a house that looked like it didn't belong to Willow Creek at all. The lawn was overgrown, full of dead leaves nobody bothered to sweep. The porch light was broken. The paint was peeling from the walls. One window was cracked. A faded wreath hung crookedly on the door, as if someone once cared but had lost the strength to keep up. It felt abandoned. Forgotten. Alone. Noah stopped at the gate, heart racing. He didn't know what he expected. But he knew. This house wasn't neglected because someone didn't care. It was neglected because someone couldn't. He walked slowly toward the front door, each step heavy, quiet. Rain pattered softly onto the wood. He hesitated, then raised his hand and knocked gently. No answer. He tried again, louder this time. Still nothing. He waited, listening. The house was silent, until a faint sound reached him. A cough. A weak, rough, painful cough, from inside. Noah's chest tightened. He knocked again, voice soft but urgent. "Hello? Emily? Is everything okay?" For a few long seconds, nothing happened. Then the door creaked open just a few inches. Emily's small face peeked out, her eyes swollen from crying, her hair messy and damp. When she saw him, she gasped. "Why you came?" Noah crouched down, giving her a gentle smile. "I wanted to check on you. And your mom." Emily's lips trembled. She opened the door wider. The hallway behind her was dim and cold, like no lights had been on for days. "Mommy's inside," she whispered. "She's really sick today." Noah stepped inside slowly, and the smell hit him. A mix of dust, damp air, and something metallic, like sickness and struggle. The floor creaked beneath his shoes. The house was almost empty. No decorations, no lights, barely any furniture. A small birthday banner, hand-colored in crayon, hung unevenly on the wall. It read "Happy Birthday, Emily," but the letters sagged like even the banner had given up hope. Emily held his hand with her tiny fingers and led him carefully through the dark hall. "We didn't have money for real decorations," she murmured. "But Mommy said homemade ones are more special." Her voice cracked with pride and sadness. They reached a small bedroom. The door was half open. Inside, Noah saw a thin woman lying in bed, blankets tangled around her frail body. She was pale, almost ghostly pale. Her cheeks hollow, lips dry, hair spread across the pillow like she hadn't stood up in days. Her eyes were closed, her breath shallow, her chest rising weakly. She looked so fragile that even a whisper could break her. Emily stepped closer and touched her mother's arm gently. "Mommy." Someone came. The woman's eyes fluttered open slowly. They were tired, dull, full of pain. But when they landed on Emily, a tiny light flickered there. A smile tried to form but failed. When she saw Noah, confusion crossed her face. She struggled to speak, voice raspy. "Hello?" Noah stepped forward, keeping his voice soft. "I'm Noah. I saw Emily outside. I just wanted to make sure you're okay." The woman coughed weakly, her body shaking from the effort. Emily panicked and held her hand tightly. "Mommy, please don't try to sit up." Noah quickly helped adjust the pillow behind her, trying to give her support without hurting her. The woman breathed slowly, every inhale sounding painful. "Thank you," she whispered. Noah's heart ached seeing her like that. She wasn't just sick, she was suffering. Alone. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, holding a small stuffed bunny with torn ears. She looked at Noah with sad honesty. "Mommy doesn't go to the doctor anymore. They turned off our car because we couldn't pay." The words hit him like a slap. Noah glanced around the room and noticed more signs. Empty pill bottles on the nightstand, a cold heater unplugged, blankets thinner than they should be in winter. "Did someone help you?" he asked softly. Emily shook her head. "The HOA said Mommy is a problem. They said sick people lower the neighborhood score." Noah couldn't believe what he was hearing. He felt anger rise inside him, hot and sharp. "They cut our electricity," Emily continued in a trembling voice. "And the water. They said we didn't follow rules." The woman closed her eyes, ashamed. "I couldn't keep up with the fines. I tried. I tried so hard." Her voice broke, drowning in guilt. Noah leaned forward gently. "You shouldn't be alone like this." A tear rolled down the woman's cheek. Emily wiped it with her tiny thumb and whispered, "Don't cry, Mommy. He came. Someone came." And for the first time, Noah understood, with painful clarity. This wasn't about a messy lawn. This wasn't about fines. This was punishment. Isolation. Cruelty. Someone wanted this family forgotten. Someone wanted them invisible. Someone wanted them gone. Noah felt a heaviness settle in his chest. He didn't know what he could do. He didn't know how much he could help. But as he looked at Emily's small hand gripping her mother's weak fingers, he knew one thing with absolute certainty: he could not walk away. Not tonight. Not ever. And outside the dark window, hidden behind the rain, a small red blinking light pointed at the house, an HOA security camera. Watching. Recording. Waiting. Because they knew exactly who had stepped into the house. And they were not going to let it go. When Noah finally stepped out of the lonely house, the night air felt colder than before, like the whole neighborhood was pushing him away. He stood on the cracked porch, rain dripping from the gutter, his heart heavy with everything he had seen. Emily's tiny sad eyes. The thin birthday banner. Mia's weak breaths. The darkness inside that home felt like a grave, not a living place. Noah closed the door gently behind him, careful not to wake Mia, who had fallen asleep from exhaustion. Emily had walked him to the door holding a flashlight that barely worked, whispering in a trembling voice, "Thank you for coming. Mommy smiled tonight." Those words stayed glued to his chest as he stepped into the rain. He wanted to promise he'd come back. He wanted to tell her she wasn't alone. But fear had tied his tongue. He didn't even know what he was stepping into. He just whispered, "I'll see you soon," and walked away. His shoes splashed through puddles as he moved down the lonely street, his mind racing. How could anyone let a child live like that? How could a mother fighting for breath be ignored like she was trash? Why was nobody helping them? The deeper he walked into the neighborhood, the more perfect everything became again. Perfect lawns. Perfect windows. Perfect lights. And suddenly, that perfection made him sick. It wasn't perfection. It was cruelty pretending to be order. A lie painted in clean colors. As he turned a corner, he saw a figure standing under a lamppost. Tall. Still. Waiting. Noah slowed his steps, his heart jumping. The figure stepped forward, and the cold, sharp face of Victoria Hale, the HOA president, appeared. Her coat was dry and expensive. Her posture strict. Her eyes like polished ice. 2 HOA board members stood behind her, arms crossed, like guards protecting a queen. Noah froze. Victoria spoke first, her voice calm and controlled, like she was reciting a rulebook. "Mr. Blake." Noah swallowed, forcing his voice steady. "Good evening." She tilted her head slightly. "Is it?" The question felt like a trap. Noah shifted the grocery bag in his hand and tried to walk past her. If you'll excuse me, it's late. But she stepped directly into his path. We saw you visiting the property at 16 Willow End. Noah's chest tightened. I was checking on a child. Victoria's lips curved into a cold, almost amused smile. And that wasn't your place. Noah felt heat rise in his face, not anger, but disbelief. A little girl was standing alone in the rain. That family, Victoria cut in sharply, is under disciplinary review. Noah frowned. For being sick. Victoria raised an eyebrow. For violating property standards. For unpaid fines. For refusing corrective action. Noah shook his head slowly. She's dying. Victoria's expression didn't change, not even a blink. Not our concern. Noah stared at her, stunned. What kind of neighborhood turns its back on a child? Victoria took a step closer. He could smell her perfume, cold, sharp, chemical, just like her voice. This neighborhood runs on rules. Order. Cleanliness. We do not allow decay. Decay. As if they were talking about trash. Not a human life. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice like a threat hidden in silk. And we especially do not allow residents like you to interfere. Noah took a step back. Interfere? I just checked on them. Victoria's smile sharpened. And that is one step toward involvement. Involvement leads to complaints. Complaints lead to chaos. We don't tolerate chaos. One of the board members handed her a clipboard. She clicked a pen, flipped a page, and read aloud as if she were listing a crime. Unapproved contact with a restricted property. Unscheduled visitation. Unauthorized support. Noah stared in disbelief. Support? I talked to a kid. Victoria nodded slowly. Exactly. She snapped the clipboard shut. Mr. Blake, consider this your verbal warning. He clenched his jaw. What happens if I ignore your warning? Victoria didn't hesitate. You'll receive a violation notice. Then fines. Then legal action. She paused, letting every word sink like poison, followed by possible eviction. Noah felt his stomach drop. For talking to a neighbor. Victoria's eyes gleamed with cold control. For associating with contamination. That word hit him like a punch. Contamination. Like Mia and Emily were dirt. Disease. A stain to be removed. Noah took a shaky breath. You can't treat people like that. Victoria's calm expression cracked just slightly, revealing something darker beneath. Oh, Mr. Blake. We already have. She stepped aside, motioning toward his street. Go home. Stay loyal. Stay quiet. Her voice softened, not gentle, but deadly. Or lose everything. The board members turned and walked away with her. Their footsteps echoed against the pavement like a countdown. Noah watched them leave, jaw tight, fists clenched, eyes burning with anger he didn't know he had. The rain hit harder. The neighborhood lights flickered. He felt alone. Small. Trapped. He started walking again, but every house he passed felt different now. Perfect windows looked like watchful eyes. Cameras mounted on porches turned slightly, following his movement. Curtains shifted as neighbors peeked out then snapped shut, afraid to be seen. Afraid to be next. When he reached his small rented house, he grabbed the doorknob, then paused. Something was taped to it. A white envelope, wet around the edges from rain. His name printed neatly on the front. His heart thudded painfully as he ripped it open. Inside was a formal violation notice. HOA violation. Property non-compliance. Fine. $500 due in 48 hours. Noah's breath stuttered. He scanned the paper, confused. Non-compliance. And at the bottom, in small sharp letters, failure to follow social boundary guidelines. Social boundary. He stared at the words, cold dread crawling up his spine. They fined him, not for his lawn, not for trash, not for noise, but for talking to Emily. For caring. For noticing. And beneath the printed text, written in pen, was one handwritten line. Slow, precise, chilling. Stay away from 16 Willow End. Noah stepped back from the door, heart racing, breathing uneven. He looked down the street and realized every camera pointed toward him now. Every porch light flickered like a warning. And somewhere, in that dark, lonely house, Emily and her sick mother were alone again. Noah closed his hand around the invitation in his pocket. The wet paper crinkled, but those 3 words still lived in his mind. Please save Mommy. He didn't know how. He didn't know why. But he knew one thing. The HOA wasn't just cruel. It was dangerous. And tonight was only the beginning. The next morning arrived without sunlight, only a heavy gray sky pressing over Willow Creek like a lid trapping every breath, every thought, every fear. Noah barely slept. He lay awake all night staring at the violation notice on his table, reading the words over and over until they stopped looking like ink and started looking like a threat carved into his life. Stay away from 16 Willow End. He could still hear Victoria's cold voice in his head, warning him, controlling him, owning him. But louder than that, he could hear Emily's trembling whisper. Mommy will smile if you come. He rubbed his tired eyes and stood up, pacing the small room like a man wrestling with himself. He had always avoided trouble, always stayed quiet, always followed the rules. But those rules never felt evil before. Now they felt like chains. Heavy, tight, invisible. He picked up the crumpled invitation from his counter, smoothing it out with shaking hands. The balloon drawings were faded, the letters uneven, but the words were still there. You are invited. And beneath them, tiny handwriting, party at 12 o'clock. Today. Noah glanced at the clock. 10:42 a.m. His heart skipped. If he went, he could be fined more. He could lose his home, lose his job, lose everything. If he didn't go, Emily would sit alone in that silent house waiting for guests who would never come. A birthday with no candles, no laughter, no presents, no neighbors, no friends. Just loneliness, fear, sickness, silence. Noah grabbed his coat. He didn't even think. His body moved faster than his doubts. He slipped a small cupcake he bought last night into a plastic container, even though it had cracked frosting and crooked sprinkles. It wasn't much, but it was something. And sometimes something was all a child needed to feel seen. He stepped outside. The neighborhood felt different in daylight, but not in a comforting way. Windows glared like judgmental eyes. Cameras turned slowly, following him as he walked. A neighbor across the street closed her curtains quickly when he passed. Another man watering his perfect lawn stared and whispered into his phone. Noah tried to ignore them, but every step toward Willow End felt like walking deeper into enemy territory. The further he went, the more perfect houses faded into neglected yards, peeling paint, dim windows. And at the very end, Emily's house. Still quiet. Still broken. Still forgotten. Noah approached the porch and knocked softly, heart pounding. For a moment, nothing happened. Then tiny footsteps. The door cracked open. Emily peeked out, her eyes big, tired, and hopeful. When she saw him, her face lit up, not like a spark, but like a sunrise fighting through darkness. You came. Her voice was small, shaking with disbelief. Noah forced a gentle smile. It's your birthday, right? Emily nodded quickly, clutching the door, her excitement trembling under her skin. Mommy's awake today. She tried to sit up because she thought someone might come. Her words hit him like a weight. Someone might come. He swallowed the ache in his chest. Can I come in? Emily opened the door all the way. Yes, please. Noah stepped inside, holding the small cupcake behind his back like a secret surprise. The house was still dim, still cold, still quiet, but there was something different today. A tiny ribbon hung on the wall. 3 paper cups sat on the table. A small plate with crackers. And a folded napkin with a hand-drawn smiley face. Emily had tried. She had tried so hard. Noah's throat tightened. It looks wonderful in here. Emily's cheeks flushed with shy pride. I made decorations. Mommy helped me draw the flowers before she got tired. She pointed to a messy crayon drawing taped crookedly near the kitchen. Two stick figures holding hands. A little girl smiling between them. Above it, the words, "Me and Mommy Noah," blinked back sudden tears. Emily tugged his sleeve gently. "Do you want to meet her again?" Noah nodded. Emily led him toward the bedroom. When they entered, Mia was propped up slightly against pillows, her breathing shallow but her eyes open. She looked weaker than yesterday, paler, thinner, her lips cracked, her hands trembling on top of the blanket. But when she saw Noah, she tried to smile. "You came," she whispered. Her voice was barely there, like a candle flame struggling in wind. Noah stepped closer. "Happy birthday to Emily." I couldn't let her celebrate alone. Mia's eyes filled with tears. Slow, silent, heavy tears. "No one has come in months. Not a neighbor. Not a friend. Not even family." Emily climbed gently onto the bed and held her mother's hand. "Mommy said people don't like us anymore." Noah shook his head softly. "People are wrong sometimes." Mia took a slow breath that sounded painful. "The HOA. They made sure everyone stayed away." Her voice cracked. "They said I was a danger to the neighborhood. Said my illness was a problem. Said we were lowering community standards." Emily looked up at her mother with innocent confusion. "But Mommy isn't dangerous." Mia stroked her daughter's hair weakly. "I know, sweetheart." Noah felt anger twist inside him like fire. "They cut your power. Your water. How is that allowed?" Mia closed her eyes. "I couldn't pay the fines. They fined me for weeds. 4 paint cracks. 4 missing board meetings. Then they fined me for having medical equipment delivered to the house." Noah stared in horror. "Medical equipment?" Mia nodded. "I have an autoimmune disease. It got worse fast." She coughed weakly, gripping her chest. Emily panicked. "Mommy, don't talk too much." Noah sat beside the bed gently. "Did anyone help? Social services? Clinics?" Mia shook her head slowly. "Victoria," she blocked my appeal. "She told the neighbors I was unstable. She said people should keep their distance." Emily whispered, her voice tiny and broken. "They said Mommy's house makes the street ugly." Noah clenched his jaw. He wanted to scream. Break something. Drag the entire HOA into this room and force them to look at the pain they'd caused. But instead, he reached into his pocket, pulled out the cupcake, and held it out to Emily. "I brought you something." Emily gasped softly, hands flying to her mouth. "A cupcake?" Noah nodded. "With pink sprinkles. Thought you might like it." Emily took it carefully, like it was precious treasure. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Then she leaned close to her mother. "Look, Mommy. It's my first birthday cake ever." Noah froze. His breath stopped. First birthday cake. Mia's tears fell silently down her cheeks. Emily's birthdays were always quiet. Emily smiled bravely, her voice shaking. But this year, someone came. She looked at Noah with pure gratitude, pure innocence, pure love. "You came." And in that moment, everything inside Noah shifted. He wasn't just visiting. He wasn't just checking. He wasn't just being kind. He was stepping into a battle he didn't even understand yet. A battle for a mother fading away. A battle for a little girl forgotten by everyone. A battle against a system built on cruelty. Emily blew out the single candle Noah lit with a match he found in the kitchen drawer. The flame flickered, danced, and disappeared. She closed her eyes tightly and whispered her birthday wish. When she opened them again, she looked up at Noah. "I wished Mommy gets better." Mia swallowed hard, whispering, "My wish is that she never feels alone." Noah felt his heart break open. He placed a gentle hand over Emily's small hand and whispered back, steady and soft, "She's not alone anymore." But just as warmth filled the small room, a sharp noise shattered it. A loud thud against the front door. Then another. And another. Emily flinched. Mia's eyes widened with fear. Noah stood slowly, his pulse racing. Outside, Muffled voices echoed. Cold. Familiar. Commanding. HOA enforcement. Open the door. Emily's tiny hand slipped into Noah's trembling fingers. Are they here? Because you came. Noah didn't answer. He didn't have to. The truth was pounding on the door. And the birthday, their first real birthday, was about to become a war. The pounding on the door shook the entire house like thunder trapped in wood, each hit louder, harder, more violent than the last. Emily jumped, clutching the cupcake to her chest like it was the last piece of happiness she had. Mia struggled to sit up, her weak body trembling, fear tightening her face. Noah stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the front door as if a monster waited on the other side. The voice came again, sharp and commanding. HOA enforcement. Open the door immediately. Emily whispered, terrified. Are they here because of me? Noah forced himself to breathe. No. You did nothing wrong. But deep inside he knew, they were here because he came. Because he cared. Because he didn't obey. Another heavy fist slammed against the door. Open up or we proceed with violation measures. Violation measures. In Willow Creek, that phrase meant anything. Fines, lockouts, forced removal. Noah's pulse raced. He turned to Mia. Do you want me to answer it? Mia shook her head weakly, panic in her eyes. No. Please. They're not here to help. Emily crawled closer to her mother, tears glistening in her eyes. Mommy, are they going to take our house again? Noah froze. Again. Mia looked away, ashamed, breathing shakily. They tried before. Another pounding. Louder. Noah stepped toward the door, anger starting to boil beneath his fear. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't hurting anyone. He was helping a mother and child who had been abandoned by everyone else. He unlocked the door slowly, opened it just a few inches, and came face to face with 3 HOA officers in black jackets, clipboards in hand, eyes cold and emotionless. The lead officer, a tall man with narrow eyes, stared at Noah like he was dirt. Mr. Blake, you have been issued a violation notice. He held out a new envelope. Noah didn't take it. Why are you here? The officer's mouth curled with cruel impatience. Unauthorized presence at a restricted property. Failure to comply with HOA orders. Social boundary breach. Noah almost laughed at how insane it sounded. I visited a sick neighbor on her child's birthday. The officer leaned closer. That family is under property seizure review. Visitors are forbidden. Noah's heart thudded. Property seizure. The officer smirked. You don't need the details. He shoved the envelope against Noah's chest. This is your second violation. One more, and eviction proceedings begin. Eviction. For caring. For being human. Behind Noah, Emily peeked through the doorway, eyes wide with fear. The officer spotted her and his expression twisted. The child is not supposed to have outside contact. Noah stepped in front of her protectively. She's a little girl. Not a prisoner. The officer's voice darkened. That child is evidence in an ongoing case. Evidence. Not a person. Not a daughter. Evidence. Emily shrank back, pressing her small hands to her face. Mommy, Mia coughed weakly from the bedroom, her voice barely audible. Leave us alone. The officer pointed at the broken porch light, the weeds growing in the yard, the cracked paint. This residence has failed all standards. It will be reclaimed by the board. Reclaimed. Like property. Like they owned it. Noah's anger snapped. She's sick. She needs help, not punishment. The officer's expression didn't change. This neighborhood protects value, not charity cases. That was it. That was the moment Noah realized the HOA wasn't just strict. It was cruel, deliberate, predatory. The officer shoved a pen at him. Sign the acknowledgement. Confirm you understand the consequences. Noah stared at the paper. It listed fines, penalties, eviction threats, but something else caught his eye. A line near the bottom, custody evaluation pending. Custody. His stomach dropped. What does this mean? The officer shrugged casually, like he was talking about trash pickup. If the mother is unfit or the property seized, the child will be reassigned. Reassigned. Noah felt sick. To who? The officer's eyes gleamed. A suitable HOA family. Noah felt the world tilt. They weren't just taking the house. They were planning to take Emily. The officer tapped the paper impatiently. Sign it. Noah stared at the small trembling hand clutching his shirt. Emily was silently begging him not to let them take her. He pushed the clipboard away. No, the officer's eyes narrowed. Wrong answer. He turned to the others. Mark him non-compliant. One officer lifted a device and scanned Noah's face. A beep sounded. The lead nodded. Violation recorded. His now flagged. Flagged. Watched. Targeted. The officer gave one last cold smile. You have 48 hours. Then we take action. They turned, walked to their black SUV, and drove away, slowly, like they wanted Noah to watch them leave with power dripping from every engine rumble. When the street went quiet again, Noah closed the door and leaned against it, chest heaving. Emily ran to Mia, sobbing. Mommy, are they going to take me away? Mia pulled her close, tears sliding down her pale cheeks. No, they won't. But her voice shook. She didn't believe her own words. Noah walked into the living room and sank into the old chair, shaking. What did they mean by reassigned? Mia stared at the floor, silent for a long time. Then she whispered, they tried before. Noah's breath caught. Before what? Mia wiped her face weakly. Before I got too sick to fight them. They fined me. Threatened me. Said Emily wasn't safe here. Claimed she needed a better environment. Noah's voice cracked. Because you were sick. Mia nodded. Because I stopped working. Because I couldn't fix the house. Because I didn't look perfect anymore. Emily crawled into her mother's lap, clutching her tightly. Mommy is perfect. Mia kissed her forehead, crying softly. Not to them. Noah stared at the violation notice in his hand, fury rising like fire. They can't just steal a child. Mia swallowed hard. They can, if they say it's for her well-being. Noah felt something shift inside him. A line crossed. A fear turned into resolve. There has to be proof. Something showing they're targeting you. Something we can use. Mia hesitated. Her lips trembled. Then she pointed toward a drawer in the hallway. There's a file. A sealed one. I found it taped under my mailbox months ago. Noah rushed to the drawer, pulled it open, and found a large manila envelope marked Confidential, HOA Internal Review. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were printed emails, bank statements, and notes. One email subject line froze him. Forced removal recommendation, Mia Carter. Another document listed names of board members, including Victoria Hale, and a line that made his blood run cold, potential asset gain through custody transfer. Asset. They saw Emily as an asset, not a child. And at the bottom of one page, written in pen, was a chilling note, initiate final steps once health declines. Noah dropped the paper. His voice trembled. They want you to get worse. Mia stared at nothing, hollow and broken. They cut the power and water. They knew it would make me sicker. Emily looked between them, confused, scared. Mommy, what does it mean? Noah knelt beside her, voice shaking with rage and grief. It means they're not just cruel, they're dangerous. Mia closed her eyes, whispering, I tried to report them once, about missing HOA funds, then I got sick. The truth slammed into Noah, like a window shattering in his chest. You think they did this to you? Mia didn't answer. She didn't need to. Silence said everything. And as Noah stared at the documents, one final realization hit him. They weren't facing a rule, or a fine, or a misunderstanding. They were facing a machine built on power, corruption, and control. And Emily, sweet innocent Emily, was their target. Noah stood slowly, fists clenched. We're not letting them take her. Mia looked up, tears streaming, voice trembling with desperate hope. How? Noah stared at the stack of evidence. We fight them. With this. But outside, a black SUV passed slowly in front of the house. Watching. Waiting. Because the HOA already knew, their secret wasn't secret anymore. And they were coming back. Not for the house. Not for fines. But for Emily. The war had begun. And there was no turning back. The house felt heavier after the truth came out, like the walls themselves were breathing fear. Papers lay scattered across the table. The emails, the custody notes, the proof of cruelty. And each page felt like a piece of Mia's life being torn apart on purpose. Emily sat curled beside her mother, her tiny fingers tangled in Mia's weak hand, her eyes red from crying but still trying to be brave. Noah paced the small living room, his mind spinning, fury pulsing through him like fire. He had walked into this situation by accident. But now it felt like fate. Like he was meant to see this. Meant to uncover it. Meant to fight it. And yet, he was terrified. Terrified of what the HOA might do next. Terrified of how far their corruption reached. Terrified of how fragile Mia looked. Like one wrong breath could take her away forever. Suddenly, Mia coughed. A deep, violent cough that shook her entire body. Emily panicked and grabbed a glass of water. But Mia's hands trembled so badly she couldn't hold it. Noah rushed forward and steadied her, heart racing. Mia, you need a doctor. Mia shook her head weakly, breath ragged. They turned away my insurance. Said my address was under violation. The clinic told me I had to clear HOA issues first. Noah stared at her, horrified. You're telling me they blocked your medical care? Mia nodded, tears forming. They said renters with fines are non-priority cases. I tried pleading, but Victoria made sure no one helped me. Emily whispered, her voice shaking with heartbreak. Mommy fainted last week. I didn't know what to do. Noah's chest tightened painfully. A 6-year-old shouldn't have to carry that kind of fear. Mia tried to speak again, but her voice cracked into a painful gasp. She clutched her chest, eyes squeezing shut. Emily screamed, Mommy! Noah didn't hesitate. He scooped Mia into his arms. She was frighteningly light, like bones wrapped in paper, and rushed toward the door. We're going to the hospital. Emily ran beside him, tears streaming. Please don't let her die. Noah pushed through the rain, carrying Mia to his car, laying her gently across the backseat while Emily held her mother's hand. Mia's breathing became shallow, her skin turning cold and clammy. Stay with me, Noah begged, voice breaking. We're almost there. He sped through the neighborhood, his tires splashing through puddles, ignoring every HOA camera tracking him, every sign reminding him of rules. Rules didn't matter now. Lives did. At the hospital entrance, he rushed Mia inside. Nurses grabbed a stretcher and rolled her away through swinging doors while Emily cried into Noah's shirt, shaking uncontrollably. A nurse knelt beside Emily and asked softly, Is she your mom? Emily nodded, sobbing. Noah spoke with a trembling voice. She's been sick for months. She hasn't had power or water. She hasn't eaten properly. The nurse's face darkened with concern. That can cause organ stress, malnutrition, immune collapse. Emily whimpered, She needs medicine. She needs help. The nurse squeezed her hand gently. We'll do everything we can. They were taken to the waiting room. The clock ticked loudly, every second feeling like a year. Emily curled into Noah's side, clutching her stuffed bunny. What if Mommy doesn't wake up? Noah swallowed hard, forcing his voice steady. She will. She's strong. But deep inside, he wasn't sure. His heart felt like it was cracking open. After nearly an hour, a doctor approached, face serious. Emily bolted upright. Is my mommy okay? The doctor knelt down to her level, voice calm but heavy. Your mother is very sick. Her body is extremely weak. She's dehydrated, malnourished, and her lungs are struggling. Emily covered her mouth, tears spilling. Can you make her better? The doctor nodded gently. We're giving her treatment. She needs rest and medical care. But she should have come much earlier. Noah stepped forward. She tried. The HOA blocked her services. They cut her utilities. The doctor's eyes widened. They cut water and power while she was sick. Noah nodded. The doctor shook his head in disbelief. That's dangerous. It can worsen autoimmune diseases. It can even trigger organ failure. Emily began sobbing again. They wanted Mommy to get worse. They wanted her gone. The doctor didn't deny it. Instead, he stood up and said, "We'll keep her under observation. She needs ongoing treatment. She cannot return to an unsafe environment." Noah's breath caught. "So she stays here?" "For now, yes." Emily grabbed Noah's hand tightly. "Where do we go?" Before Noah could answer, a sharp voice sliced through the room. "Emily Carter." Noah turned and froze. Victoria Hale stood in the lobby, flanked by 2 HOA board members, holding a legal folder. Emily's entire body tensed. She hid behind Noah instantly. Victoria smiled, a cold, victorious smile. "We received notice your mother is hospitalized. As per HOA emergency protocol, the child will be placed in temporary custody." Emily screamed, "No," and clung to Noah desperately. Noah stepped between them, fury blazing through him. "You're not taking her." Victoria raised a brow. "We have the authority." She handed him a document. Noah snatched it and read quickly, his heart dropping with every line. "Emergency child transfer, pending maternal incapacity." It was signed, stamped, approved. Yesterday, before Mia collapsed, before the hospital, before the emergency. Noah looked up, horror filling him. "You planned this." Victoria smirked. "We anticipate community risks." Emily cried harder, voice shaking like shattered glass. "Mommy needs me." Victoria leaned closer, whispering with venom. "This child belongs in a stable, valuable home, not with sickness and decay." Noah's voice cracked with rage. "She belongs with her mother." Victoria's smile widened. "Not anymore." She motioned to the officers. "Take the child." Emily screamed. Noah stepped in front of her like a shield. "Touch her, and I'll go to the police." Victoria's expression sharpened. "The HOA is the law here." Noah took a deep breath and pulled something out of his pocket. The confidential envelope. The emails. The proof. He held it up. "This says otherwise." Victoria's eyes flickered. Fear, then fury. "Where did you get that?" Noah stepped closer, voice trembling with power he didn't know he had. "In her house. In your files." Emily squeezed his hand. Hope flickered in her eyes for the first time. Victoria's mask cracked. "That information is private property." Noah shook his head slowly. "Not if it proves fraud. Not if it proves custody theft. Not if it proves you planned all of this." People in the lobby began turning, whispering, staring. Victoria stiffened, suddenly aware of eyes on her. Noah lifted the papers higher. "If you touch her, I go public. News. Court. Every resident. Every lawyer." Victoria froze. Her jaw clenched. Her voice dropped to a hiss. "This isn't over." She spun around and stormed out, her heels hitting the floor like gunshots. Her guards followed. The hospital doors closed behind them. Silence returned. Heavy. Trembling. Emily collapsed against Noah, crying into his chest. "I don't want to go with them. I want Mommy." Noah wrapped his arms around her, holding her like she mattered. Like she wasn't a file. Or evidence. Or property. "You're safe," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm here. I'm not leaving." But as he hugged her, something chilled him to the bone. Victoria wasn't scared because she failed. She was scared because Noah now held something powerful. Proof. And powerful people don't give up. They strike back. The battle had shifted. This wasn't just about sickness anymore. Or fines. Or rules. This was about survival. About truth. About a child's life being hunted. Noah looked down at Emily, fragile, shaking, crying, and made a promise he'd never made in his life. "I'm going to save your mommy." And for the first time, he meant every word. The storm wasn't ending. It was rising, and the final fight was coming. Fast, night fell like a heavy curtain over the city, swallowing the streets in darkness while the hospital lights glowed cold and lonely against the glass. Noah sat in the small hallway outside Mia's room, his hands clasped tightly around the folder filled with evidence, his heart beating like a drum inside his chest. Emily was curled up in a chair beside him, wrapped in a thin blanket a nurse had given her, her little head resting against his arm. She was exhausted, physically, emotionally, painfully, but she refused to sleep. Every time her eyes closed, they shot back open with a whisper. "What if Mommy wakes up and I'm not here?" Noah gently stroked her hair, voice soft. "I promise, you're not going anywhere." She nodded weakly, holding her stuffed bunny against her chest like a lifeline. The hallway was quiet except for the steady beeping of machines behind Mia's door. Each beep was a heartbeat of hope, but also a reminder of how fragile she was. Nurses moved quietly. Doctors whispered. The hospital felt like the opposite of the HOA. Here, people cared. Here, people tried. Here, nobody turned away. But even in this safe place, Noah couldn't shake the fear curling in his gut. Victoria wasn't gone. The HOA wasn't done. They were waiting, plotting, searching for a new angle to strike. And they always struck hard. Suddenly, the doctor stepped out of Mia's room, his face serious but calm. Emily bolted upright, gripping Noah's hand. "Is she okay?" The doctor knelt gently in front of her. "Your mom is stable for now. Her oxygen levels are better. The fluids are helping." Emily's eyes flooded with relief. "Can she wake up?" The doctor nodded. "She's resting. She needs time. She fought very hard." Emily covered her mouth, her tiny shoulders shaking as she cried softly. Noah exhaled shakily, feeling his chest loosen for the first time in hours. The doctor's face softened. "She needs long-term treatment, a safe home, proper care, and someone to advocate for her." Noah nodded firmly. "She has someone now." The doctor didn't know the full story, but he saw something in Noah's eyes. Devotion, fire, purpose. He placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. "Whatever you're fighting, don't stop. Sick people shouldn't be punished." Then he walked away. Emily wiped her tears, her voice small but determined. "We're going to help Mommy, right?" Noah nodded. "Yes. And we're going to make sure no one takes you away." Emily swallowed hard. "But they'll try again." Noah looked down at the envelope in his hand, the proof that could destroy the HOA. His voice turned steady, stronger than before. "Let them try. We're not alone anymore." As he said the words, a soft knock echoed from behind them. Noah turned and saw someone he didn't expect. A woman in a dark navy coat, holding a badge. "Mr. Blake." Noah's stomach tightened. "Yes." She stepped forward, voice low and professional. "Detective Marin Hall." The hospital reported possible neglect related to utility shutoff and medical obstruction. Noah blinked. "That was the HOA," she raised a hand gently. "We've heard rumors about Willow Creek. People afraid to talk. People suddenly moving out. Complaints that vanish." Her eyes narrowed. But tonight, someone finally came forward. Noah's heart slammed. "Who?" Detective Hall nodded to the end of the hallway. Footsteps echoed, and an older woman appeared. Gray hair, wrinkled hands, a trembling voice. "I did." Emily gasped. "Mrs. Turner." Noah recognized her, the quiet neighbor who always sat alone on her porch, the one the HOA ignored like she didn't exist. Mrs. Turner wrung her hands nervously. "I've lived next to Mia for 5 years. I saw everything. The fines. The threats. The water shut off. The power cut. I heard Mia crying at night when Emily was asleep." Emily's lips trembled. "Why didn't you help?" Mrs. Turner's eyes filled with guilt. I was scared. Victoria threatened anyone who spoke to them. She said we could lose our homes. A tear rolled down her cheek. I wanted to help, but I was a coward. She looked at Noah with trembling gratitude. You weren't. Detective Hall took the folder from Noah carefully. May I see? He nodded. She opened it and scanned the documents, emails, signatures, the custody plans, the financial motives. Her eyes hardened. This is enough to open an investigation. Enough to request warrants. Mrs. Turner added quietly, there's more. Noah blinked. More? She nodded. Mia wasn't the first. The HOA forced out 3 other families in the past 2 years. They all had something the board wanted. Noah's blood turned to ice. Like what? Mrs. Turner hesitated, voice shaking. Property. She looked directly at Noah. Investments. Profits. Land deals. They remove families, seize homes, sell them, and pocket money. Detective Hall closed the folder sharply. That's criminal fraud. Emily whispered, so Mommy, she wasn't just unlucky. Mrs. Turner's voice broke. She was targeted. Noah sat down slowly, the truth hitting him like a storm. This wasn't just a cruel HOA. This was a system built on suffering. Built on greed. Built on taking the weakest and turning them into profit. Detective Hall straightened, voice firm. We'll move fast. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing for emergency protection for Mia and Emily. And a warrant for the HOA's records. Emily's eyes widened. That means, they can't take me. The detective smiled gently. No one will take you. Emily burst into tears, this time not from fear, but from relief so big it shook her tiny body. She threw her arms around Noah, sobbing, You saved us. Noah hugged her tightly, his own eyes burning. No, Emily. You saved your mom. You asked for help. You were brave. Emily nodded, whispering into his shirt. I just wanted Mommy to smile. Noah held her close, feeling her heartbeat against his chest, realizing that everything he had done, all the fear, all the danger, was for this moment. Hope. Real hope. But just as that warmth settled over them, a loud crash echoed from the front of the hospital. Shouting. Footsteps. Panic. Nurses ran past, eyes wide. Someone yelled, Security breach. Someone destroyed the lobby cameras. Noah stood up fast, heart slamming. Detective Hall tensed. Emily grabbed his hand, terrified again. A nurse sprinted by shouting. A group forced the doors open. They're looking for a child. Emily's breath hitched. No, Detective Hall pulled out her badge. Stay here. Don't move. She rushed toward the chaos. Mrs. Turner backed against the wall, trembling. Noah crouched beside Emily, gripping her shoulders. Listen to me, no matter what happens, I won't let them take you. Emily looked into his eyes, trusting him completely. Promise. Noah swallowed hard. I promise. The lights flickered. The hallway fell silent. And then, slow footsteps echoed toward them. Heavy. Purposeful. Coming closer. Emily squeezed Noah's hand, whispering the words that shattered his heart. They are here. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, they weren't trying to take the house. They were coming for the child. For Emily. For everything.